Today on ZZZ Made Easy, we're talking about anomalies. This video will cover all the basic mechanics for attribute anomalies as well as the disorder reaction. I won't be covering every individual anomaly agent, but I'll do my best to mention when an agent does something outside the norm. As a quick intro, anomalies are another way to deal damage in Zenless Zone Zero. Some even have secondary effects. Anomaly agents specialize in applying anomalies faster, and they are damage dealers just as much as the attack or rupture agents. ZZZ has 5 attributes: Ice, Physical, Fire, Electric, and Ether. Each attribute has its own anomaly effects, which are triggered when you fill the anomaly gauge using attacks of said attribute. Before we dive into individual attributes, we need to cover some shared traits. Every move has a different anomaly build-up value, and you can increase the build-up amount by getting more of the anomaly mastery stat. Anomaly mastery can also be viewed as anomaly build-up rate. These two terms are interchangeable since every point of anomaly mastery translates into 1% of anomaly build-up rate. If you want to trigger anomalies more often, you want more mastery or build-up rate. To determine the total damage of your anomaly, there is a lengthy formula, but for the purpose of this guide, all you need to know is that you want to build more attack and more anomaly proficiency. Anomaly proficiency is a multiplier for anomaly damage. Every point of AP translates into 1% attribute anomaly damage. Anomalies cannot normally crit. Generally speaking, crit rate and crit damage are the focus of the attack agents. Anomaly mastery and proficiency are what you want to build on your anomaly agents. There are 2 big things to understand for anomaly damage. First, damage is calculated based on individual contributions to the anomaly gauge. For example, we have 2 physical agents. Alice fills up 50% of the gauge and Yuzuha fills up the other 50%. The resulting physical anomaly will be based on 50% of Alice's stats and 50% of Yuzuha's stats. Certain moves do not contribute to anomaly damage calculations, but still build up anomaly gauge. In a second example, Yuzuha's Sugar Burst Sparkles move contributes 25% gauge, Yuzuha's regular attacks contribute another 25%, and Alice still contributes 50%. When it comes to time to calculate damage, Sugar Burst Sparkles will not be included, meaning instead of Yuzuha's stats contributing to 50% of the damage calculation, she only contributes 33%. Meanwhile, Alice's stats now are used for 66% of the calculation. Yuzuha is currently the only agent with a move like this, but all Bangbu attacks that build anomaly also work the same way. Bangbu do have an attack stat, but it's not going to matter for anomaly triggers. The second aspect of anomaly damage to understand is that you use the agent's stats at the time they contribute to the gauge. It doesn't matter if you have your attack and damage buffs at the end when you trigger the anomaly, you want buffs active at the time you build up the anomaly. Your agent's stats will get saved at that moment, and this all gets accounted for when the anomaly damage is calculated. There are a few more shared traits for anomalies. Even though some agents have physical damage basic attacks, only physical attribute agents will build up the physical anomaly gauge. When you trigger an anomaly, there is a short cooldown period before you can reapply the same anomaly to an enemy. This is around 3 seconds or so don't waste your anomaly building moves. Last, it's important to know that only the active agent can trigger anomalies. If you swap out early, you can save the anomaly trigger for later, which is a useful tactic. However, if you want the anomaly proc, you're going to need to stay on that agent. Some agents can break that last rule. Bernice, Vivian, and the upcoming Alice have ways to trigger their anomalies while off field. Let's now go over each individual attribute anomaly. The Ice anomaly is split into 3 parts. When you fill the gauge, Freeze is first to trigger. Freeze lasts for around 2 to 3 seconds, and you can freeze some bosses. After Freeze ends, or if you hit the enemy with certain attacks, you will cause Shatter. Shatter is where the Ice anomaly damage comes from. It is the weakest anomaly, with its base damage equal to 500% of your agent's attack. Shatter is a single instance of damage. For the graphic, I put it at the end, but enemies enter the Frostbite state as soon as Freeze occurs. This state lasts for 10 seconds, and all attacks the enemy takes will get 10% bonus crit damage. For some extra notes, the attacks that cause Shatter are a bit inconsistent, but ultimates generally do not break Freeze until their last hit. This is good to know because one of the strongest parts of the Ice anomaly is that it also freezes the stun bar. If you can trigger Freeze during a stun, this gives you more time with that stun damage multiplier. As of version 2.1, we still don't have a proper Ice anomaly agent. For the moment, Sokaku is a good Ice anomaly applier. Her EX special is still pretty good build-up, so don't underestimate her. The physical anomaly is split into 2 parts. When you fill the gauge, Assault will trigger. This deals 1 instance of damage equal to 713% of your agent's attack. Don't ask me why it's that number. After Assault, the enemy will enter the Flinch state for 10 seconds. Flinched foes will take 7.5% more days from all attacks. Assault is the second weakest anomaly, but like Shatter, it does all its damage in one go. The two S-rank limited physical anomaly agents both modify assault in different ways. Jane can cause assault to crits. The crit rate is based on her anomaly proficiency, while the crit damage is set to 50%. As an added bonus, Jane extends the flinch state by 5 seconds. For Alice, she's not currently released as of this video, but we've seen how she works. After assault, Alice makes the flinch state deal damage over time. This is a small dot equal to 25% of the original assault damage. On top of this, Alice has a unique polarized assault, which is a separate anomaly that has all the same traits as regular assaults. One assault wasn't symmetrical, so Alice brought a second. The fire anomaly is very simple. Fill the gauge to trigger burn for 10 seconds. Burn is the only guaranteed damage over time anomaly. Every 0.5 seconds, burn ticks for 50% of your agent's attack. When you add up the 20 burn ticks over 10 seconds, this comes out to a total of 1000% attack. Burn is right in the middle in terms of base damage for anomalies. Even though it doesn't do all its damage immediately, it's guaranteed to tick down on the enemy. The only time you lose out on burn damage is if the enemy goes invulnerable. For some extra notes, burn can interrupt fire weak or organic enemies for a little bit of time. In terms of modifying burn, Burnese extends its duration by 3 seconds. This means you get 26 ticks of burn over 13 seconds for a new total base damage of 1300% attack. The last two anomalies are similar but get a little more complex. When you fill up the electric anomaly gauge, you trigger shock. This state lasts for 10 seconds but doesn't deal any damage if left as is. You need to hit the shocked enemy to get 1 tick of shock damage equal to 125% attack. You can trigger the shock damage effect once every second, meaning you can potentially get 10 shock ticks for a total of 1250% attack. Shock is tied for the highest base damage anomaly, but it also could deal little to no damage if you don't constantly hit the enemy after it's applied. If you miss 2 ticks of shock, suddenly it deals the same damage as burn, except you still need to land every single shock tick after. One way to get around this issue is to trigger Disorder, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Triggering shock on electric weak foes or foes under the machine type will interrupt them briefly. Electric Anomaly has a few synergies among agents. Grace has a direct shock damage bonus multiplier. This is different from, say, bonus electric damage. If you use Rena, she can extend shock by 3 seconds. This adds another potential 3 shock ticks over 13 seconds for a new total base damage of 1625% attack. Anton can trigger extra ticks of shock damage after 4 critical hits in his burst mode. It will be only at 45% of the original damage though. Last up, when you fill the Ether Anomaly gauge, you trigger Corruption. This state lasts for 10 seconds and you must hit corrupted enemies to deal 1 tick of corruption equal to 62.5% attack. You can trigger this effect once every 0.5 seconds, which means you can potentially get 20 ticks of corruption for a total of 1250% attack. Shock and Corruption tie for highest base damage anomalies and function similarly. The only difference is that you need to hit shocked foes every 1 second 10 times, while for Corruption you have to hit the enemy every 0.5 seconds 20 times. Corruption faces the same issues as Shock, where you can lose damage if you aren't constantly hitting the enemy. The one Ether Anomaly agent, Vivian, can solve this issue. Vivian can trigger a damage over time effect on foes with anomalies, and this will trigger Shock and Corruption's damage ticks. If you have Vivian, she sort of turns Shock and Corruption into actual dots, kinda like Burn. Last tip, Corruption can interrupt Ether weak foes or ethereal type enemies. We've gone over the individual attribute anomalies, but what happens if we apply one anomaly and then a second anomaly while the first is still active? For Burn, Shock, and Corruption, reapplying the same anomaly will overwrite the first one and reset the timer back to 10 seconds. This is not ideal because you will lose all the damage from the first anomaly's remaining duration. For Shatter and Assault, since these anomalies deal all their damage in one instance at the start, it's mostly fine to re-trigger them again. For Ice and Physical Anomaly Agents, you could play them as a solo damage dealer. Even though these anomalies deal less base damage, you don't have to wait 10 seconds to get their full damage potential. With that being said, the main reason Anomaly Agents thrive as damage dealers is largely due to Disorder. When one anomaly is still active on the foe and you trigger a second anomaly of a different attribute, this will cause a Disorder reaction. Unlike Genshin, it doesn't matter what attributes interact with each other. When Disorder happens, the second anomaly will overwrite the first. Instead of losing the potential damage from the first anomaly though, Disorder compresses all its remaining damage into one instance. Using Burn as an example, the Disorder base damage multiplier includes the original burn damage. We now just calculate how much burn time is remaining and total it up. As a bonus for triggering Disorder, you will add 450% attack to your remaining burn damage. Disorder's base damage is the resulting number, and that gets multiplied by AP and other damage bonuses. Disorder has major benefits for Burn, Shock, and Corruption. First off, you no longer need to wait 10 seconds to get their max damage potential. This allows you to fit all their damage into like a stun phase. Second, for Shock and Corruption, you don't have to worry about constantly attacking the enemy. Disorder is going to compress all of that remaining anomaly damage into one number. Now what about Shatter and Assault? We already got all their damage at the start, so what's left for Disorder? Instead of compressing any remaining damage, Ice and Physical Disorders get a bonus. Unfortunately, it's very small. For every second remaining, Disorder deals 7.5% of your agent's attack. That is not a lot, but you still get the 450% attack bonus just for triggering Disorder. Thanks to that, all attributes want to trigger Disorder if possible. For some extra notes on Disorder, any Anomaly time extensions directly improve Disorder damage. This is simply because their damage potential was already higher to start. Disorder triggers do build up a little bit of daze. Even without a stunner, Anomaly Agents will get to a stun eventually. Causing Disorder does trigger a short cooldown for all anomalies being applied to an enemy. Alice can bypass this since she can apply regular Assault and then Polarize Assault at the same time. I believe this is intended behavior. Now, there are two agents who can increase the Disorder damage multiplier. Since Alice adds a damage over time effect to her assaults, she actually accounts for that lost damage if you trigger Disorder. It's a small bump to the already small assault Disorder damage, but we'll take it. For Yunagi's core passive, she adds a direct 250% on top of that 450% attack Disorder bonus. Yunagi takes things a step further though with her unique Polarity Disorder. This is a separate, weaker Disorder effect that will not remove the first anomaly active. Yunagi can also cause two disorders at the same time. One of those is just the Polarity version. Thanks to Disorder, Anomaly Agents have cemented in an extremely strong playstyle for themselves. The double Anomaly DPS team, or the standard Disorder team, play off the idea of trading anomalies between two different attributes. Your third member is usually a support agent who can contribute to one of the attributes for extra build-up. If you have Yuzuha, she can help build up for any attribute type, which makes her incredibly valuable. Two great agents to have for Disorder teams are Bernice and Vivian. These two are currently what I would consider the off-field Anomaly Agents. They can apply and trigger their anomalies while another agent is on-field, making Disorder smoother to play. Yuzuha also sort of fits into this category. One issue with the double Anomaly teams is that they have to worry about two attribute resistances when it comes to bosses. If a boss has a resistance to your attribute, you're going to deal less damage, and Anomaly buildup will be slower. That is double bad. Anomaly teams will become a lot more flexible the more Anomaly Agents of different attributes you have to choose from. To end this video, I want to talk about the Anomaly of Anomaly Agents, Miyabi. As of this video, ZZZ has two unique attributes, Miyabi's Frost and Ishuan's Auric Ink. For the most interactions, Frost is treated the same as Ice, and Auric Ink is the same as Ether. Frost and Auric Ink both build up separate anomaly gauges and inflict their own anomalies. As far as I know, Auric Ink's anomaly is the exact same as Ether's Corruption. Yishuan doesn't really rely on triggering Corruption for her playstyle. Miyabi's Frost is a different story though. Frost anomaly includes all the same benefits of the regular Ice anomaly. Miyabi still triggers Freeze, Shatter, and Frostbite, but she adds more effects. When Miyabi freezes an enemy, she will also deal one instance of Frostburn Break. This is not anomaly damage and it can crit. After Frostburn Break, Shatter will occur when Freeze ends. This deals the same damage as before. Frostbite still adds 10% crit damage, but Miyabi's Frostbite will last 20 seconds instead of 10 seconds. At this same time, she also applies a Frostburn state. Frostburn makes enemies take 20% more anomaly buildup from all attributes. For the sake of conversation, I will refer to both of these states as just Frostburn. Miyabi is complex, but for this video, all you need to know is that she generally does not want to trigger her Frost anomaly back to back. With Frostburn's 20-second timer and the extra anomaly buildup, Miyabi is telling you to trigger Disorder when an ally. To further emphasize this, the Frost Disorder has different scaling than the regular Ice Disorder. The Ice Disorder has a max base damage potential of 525% attack. Frost Disorder has a max base damage potential of 2100% attack. Oh my goodness. The reason for this higher scaling is because Miyabi doesn't build as much anomaly proficiency as the other anomaly agents. She doesn't really care about Shatter's anomaly damage. Miyabi is going to use anomalies and disorders to fuel her big damage Shimotsuki attack, which is scaling off crit stats. Miyabi does appreciate AP for Frost disorders, but her entire build is going to be focusing on getting more of those crit stats. She's listed as an Anomaly Agent, but Miyabi is more like an attack plus Anomaly Agent combined. Now to tie everything together, Miyabi is able to abuse her Frost Freeze during stun phases by chaining it with the regular Ice Anomaly Freeze. The Mono Ice team has a super high skill ceiling, but the results are just disgusting. Freeze into Shimotsuki into another Freeze for Disorder, then another Shimotsuki into another Freeze plus Disorder, and so on. The Ice Anomaly may be the weakest damage-wise, but Miyabi does show exactly how abusable Freeze can become. I have to wonder how our first actual Ice Anomaly agent will work out. Now, I hope this video helped you understand anomalies better in Zenless Zone Zero. Anomalies can serve other functions like activating drive disc sets, but in terms of damage, the Anomaly class of agents have been extremely strong. With Yuzuha being added as the premier Anomaly-focused support, things aren't slowing down if you enjoy this type of playstyle. Thank you for watching, go master those anomalies and you'll be very proficient at causing disorder. I will see you in the next video.